of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well done. All right, could we proceed to roll call, please?
Sure. Charlotte, please display your real-time tracking and the roll call, please.
Sure. Okay. Chair Lyons,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Moss,
Here.
President Shevlin. She is not here yet, and she's not in the waiting room, so we're absent for now. Supervisor Solis. Supervisor Solis is here.
I know she's here, but maybe she
Unmute. Let me
unmute.
ask her to unmute. Supervisor Solis for roll call.
And why don't we come back?
Okay, sure. Member Hepburn,
Yes. Here.
Member Jacobowski,
Here.
Member Mahmood,
Here.
Member Morales,
Here.
Member Peralta. Is she on? Member Melendez, Member Peralta wasn't having Melendez join again this.
No, I did not receive a notice, so it would have been
Okay,
under Parada.
we'll put absent for now. Let me make sure she's not in the waiting. She's not in the waiting room. Member Sandoval.
Here.
Okay,
Chair Lyons, we have a quorum.
Should we just go back and make sure that Supervisor Solis is not here?
I'm sorry, I am here.
I thought you were there. Thank you. All right, let's mark her as president then. Thank you, or present. Thank you.
okay, just did.
Great. Next is public comment. This is the opportunity for the public to submit comments, which was posted. Have we received any public comments?
Chair Lyons, we did not receive any public comments.
Very good. Now we're on to our consent calendar. There's 2 items on the consent calendar, and we have not received any public comments on those either, correct?
Confirmed, we did not receive any comments.
Motion
Very
approved.
good. Very good.
Second that. Moss.
Okay. Who was the first, Hepburn?
Yes, ma'am.
And the second was Moss. Okay, very good. I'm assuming nobody has any discussion on these items, so let's go ahead and take a roll call.
Charlotte, please proceed.
Okay. Chair Lyons,
Yes.
Vice Chair Moss,
Yes.
President Shevlin.
Go ahead and proceed.
Supervisor Solis. Let me see if she's on mute. Supervisor Solis. I'll come back. Member Hepburn,
Yes.
Member Jacobowski,
Yes.
Member Mahmood,
Yes.
Member Morales. Member Morales.
Yes.
Solis present
And that was a yes for Morales.
and
Okay.
yes for Solis.
Okay, got it.
You got it? Thank you. Sorry, we're having trouble.
No problem. Member Peralta. Absent. Member Sandoval.
Yes.
Okay.
Chair Lyons, a motion passed.
Very good. Thank you. And I know this has been a difficult meeting so far from a technology standpoint, so let's hope the rest of it goes smoother. All right, now for our action item, we have the strategic plan update. Before we proceed on this, Eric, have we had any public comments on it?
Chair Lyons, we did not receive any comments before the meeting.
Very good. Let's go ahead and proceed with the presentation then. Thank you.
Certainly, thanks. Alex Fong, Senior Management Analyst, will provide a brief presentation. Alex, please proceed.
Thank you, Eric. And good afternoon, members of the committee. Staff is very excited to provide this presentation for the committee. It is the new year, so we're also excited to update our strategic plan. It's actually been about 3 years since we've done our last strategic plan updates. So we are going to go over this presentation very briefly, and staff would appreciate any feedback that you all would like to provide. And we would surely love the committee's blessing to bring the draft strategic plans contents to the governing boards later next month. So we understand that a survey was previously sent out to the committee to just get any feedback that you have. So thank you very much to the committee members who have submitted individual feedback or email comments. So with that, can we proceed to the next slide, please? So the strategic plan essentially serves as the roadmap for the agency and identifies the priorities and actions that we will undertake. As we've mentioned, the last strategic plan update was adopted in 2019. Next slide, please. And as this year concludes, we want to, apologies, we've done this presentation early on last month. As last year concluded, we proposed to update this plan to identify the priorities and actions that are more relevant for the agency to undertake to better support our member agencies. Next slide, please. So these were the goal topics for our 2019 strategic plans, which includes transportation and capital projects, homelessness, environment, water, and member support and communications. Next slide, please. Even as we want to move forward with our 2022 strategic plan updates, it is so important to recognize the good work that the COG has done under your leadership and the governing board's leadership. So we just really want to emphasize the things that we've done for the past 3 years. And that includes developing unanimous consensus on the governing boards to allocate $126 million in Measure M's sub-regional equity program funds to the Gold Line foothill extensions so that project can be extended to Pomona. We've supported efforts by San Gabriel Valley representatives on the Metro boards. So definitely lots of applause there to secure unanimous support for a motion that protects more than 600 million of Measure R funds for transportation projects along the SR60 corridor. We've established the San Gabriel Valley Regional Vehicle Miles Traveled, or known as VMT model, to help our cities to comply with SB 743. We've approved and supported the I-605 Corridor Aesthetics Master Plans to provide the uniform approach to future highway improvements along the I-605. And we've, if you would like to proceed to the next slide, we've got just a couple more accomplishments to mention. We've initiated the San Gabriel Valley Transit Feasibility Study to plan for mobility improvement alternatives in lieu of the east side Gold Line extension along the SR60 corridor following Metro Board's decision to proceed with woody alignments. We've also developed planning guidelines to distribute and allocate the Measure M's multi-year sub-regional program, or known as MSP funds. We've advocated for the award of the $118 million in SB1 funds for the SR5760 projects. We've secured 20 million and then 15 million in Section 190 state funds for the ACE projects. We've secured the programming of more than $18 million in state Prop 1B funds for the Montebello grade separation projects. And we've also secured Metro Board approval for the programming of $15 million in Prop C funds for the Montebello project. And I believe we have one more slide of accomplishments here. but staff still very much believes that these are all important accomplishments to mention. We've testified about the importance of the ACE projects and grade separation funding before the House Rail Subcommittee on the Hill. We've secured amendments to a state bill that would otherwise have diverted ACE project funding to short line railroads. We've organized the Derby Avenue projects, which broke ground in May 2019. We restarted the Fullerton Roads grade sept in fall of 2021, and we've completed the Diamond Bar golf course replacements, land acquisitions, and initiated the improvements on the golf course for the SR 5760 project. So these are just some major accomplishments. And I'm sure there are many more minor things that under your leaderships, the COG has done, but again, thank you again for your support. These are just great accomplishments for the past couple of years. So next slide, please. So this presentation focuses on the capital projects related components of the strategic plans. For the purpose of time, we're just going to really focus on getting feedback on just the capital projects components today. But if members of the committee would have any other additional comments about other goals or like comments about other things in the strategic plans, our staff is happy to meet with you and take comments separately as well. But focusing on the capital projects component side, we have a current goal about transportation. The current description states that will secure funding for and ensure the timely implementation of regional priority transportation projects and support regional transportation planning efforts. If you click on the next slide, there's a minor revision that our staff recommends, and that is just to add the word local in the description. So it would turn into secure funding for and ensure the timely implementation of regional and local priority transportation projects and support regional transportation planning efforts. If you'd like to click one more time. And this is our staff's reasoning. While we historically support regional priority transportation projects, our cities over the past couple of years have emphasized the importance of local priority projects that are crucial in supporting the regional transportation network. So that's why staff is proposing to include the word local. Next slide, please. So we also have another goal that's it's under the umbrella of member support and communications. And that the current description is that the COG will strengthen board and partner agency commitment to the COG and provide leadership on emerging issues. If you click one more time. Our staff would actually like to revise the goal and just name it collaboration to make it shorter and sweet. And just a minor revision to the descriptions, and that would be to change the words from provide to promote. And if you click one more time, we propose to rename the strategic goal to reflect our desire to promote innovative regional collaboration efforts and launch programs to address emerging issues. Over the past couple of years, the COG has undertaken interesting but also very impactful projects. Like a great example would be, it's more environmentally related, but it's like we've took on regional coyote management, and we've took on wildfire prevention planning. And that is all because our cities would like us to take a stronger role in addressing emerging issues. Next slide, please. So this is our process and schedule for updating the strategic plans. In November, we distributed the survey to governing board members and city managers to gather inputs on the revised strategic goals. The same survey was distributed to the committee members here just last month. And again, thank you all for providing feedback. We're now making our rounds to all of the policy committees to obtain feedback and recommendations. And the draft strategic plan documents will be presented to the governing boards next month to just get feedback. And then in March, we will ask the governing board for full adoption. And for May, we will adopt our upcoming fiscal year budgets that includes the elements and the strategic goals that are outlined in the new strategic plan. So with that, that concludes our presentation on this item. Staff is happy to take any questions or comments, and we would love for the committee to take action to recommend the governing boards to support the capital projects components of the strategic plans. Thank you all very much.
Alex, thank you very much. That was very well done. A lot of information in a short time. Let me see, I see one hand up already. Member Mahmood, please tell us what you want to tell us.
Thank you. At the water committee was not comfortable in the, I think it's the last substantive slide on collaboration. We thought promote leadership didn't convey a strong enough sense of the COG's role. I forget exactly what verb we suggested in the alternative. It might have been foster, but it just dawned on me. It's limited as phrased, it's limited to emerging issues. And we want to continue collaboration and continued leadership on those issues where we have already established a very strong regional presence. And in particular, I'm thinking of water and homelessness, where the COG really stands out on a regional basis among our peers.
Yeah.
Alex, do you know what words were used to, what suggested changes there were?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member Mahmood. That is a great comment. We've actually have taken in the Water Committee's comments and revised accordingly. The previous word was actually, I believe, foster, but then at the Water Committee's recommendation, we changed the word from foster to promote, as you can see on the slide here, to better reflect that, like we would actually promote rather than foster. That's like a stronger word.
It is. There's still my second concern with regard to only the identification of emerging issues, because we've already been an outlier on two really critical issues to this region: water, homelessness, and for that matter, there's a reason the gold line is as far along as it is, and that's because of the strong leadership provided by former board member John Fasana, and now, as I'm very happy to say, has been continued by Mayor Sandoval. So we've got three outstanding areas where we've really, in my view, stood out. That should be reflected in the wording.
So let me just sort of ask this. You are okay with the word promote, but you want to make sure that the goal includes current issues as well as future issues. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have that down then, Alex?
Yes, madam. So we can change the words to promote leadership on current and emerging issues.
Does that sound okay? Member Mahmood?
I hate to do wordsmithing on the fly, but I think we want to provide continued leadership where we have been an outlier and promote leadership on emerging issues.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Alex, she's saying, in other words, we're already in the leadership position. We want to continue that. And in addition to that, with emerging issues, we would promote it.
Understood. And our staff can definitely workshop it a little bit more internally, but it's probably somewhere along the lines of continue and promote leadership on current and emerging issues, somewhere along those lines. Would that be okay, Member Mahmood?
I think you want to say we have provided leadership and we want to continue to provide leadership, because we've already staked out. Some of us have worked very hard, spending many hours. So
I think we want to be careful, and we don't want to get, too far into the weeds on this.
right.
Right. So a goal thing that would take place in the future, not what you're talking about, providing the leadership is something that we're currently doing and we want to continue doing.
Yeah, I can leave it to staff or maybe come up with some other suggestions, but perhaps if we can pass a motion that reflects the sense of what I'm suggesting, that would be sufficient.
Okay, so hang on to that thought for just a minute. I need to see who else has questions because I have a comment too. Let me see if there's any other raised hands. I don't see any other raised hands. Is anybody else on this committee? Would anybody else like to comment? Okay, seeing none. I actually have two comments. One is, we really need to emphasize how critical it is that we secure funding for Turnbull Canyon and Montebello, because this is really strategic. If we don't get that funding, we're going to lose $100 million of existing funding that's been allocated. So we want to make sure that, we really work with our partner agencies with Metro to make sure that we secure that funding, because we would sure hate to lose that $100 million. So where could we fit that in, Alex?
Yeah, thank you again, Chair Lyons. We can probably fit that in to the previous, if Charlotte can move back on one slide back. So our current strategic goal under transportation and capital projects would be to secure funding for and ensure the timely implementation of regional and local priority transportation projects and support regional transportation planning efforts. We believe that we can fit, Chair Lyons, your comments within that umbrella description if you believe that is appropriate.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, we have that as a strategic goal, because there's not much more strategic than keeping $100 million for these projects. So working with Metro to do that. So yeah, I think it's sounding like we may have to see this again, possibly. Then my other comment was, when we release the strategic goals or a strategic plan, will it be similar to the old one where there's photographs?
Yes, madam. Yeah, there will be many pictures.
Okay, so my request is that when we have photographs and we're having photographs of, ACE projects that we're either working on or completed or whatever, could we please have photographs that are truly part of our work and not from some other area? Like,
yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Can they be real photographs? Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Thank you, madam. The capital projects team, they love taking lots of pictures for the ACE project, so we can definitely showcase many of those, and we'll be certain to use actual photographs of our projects that would reflect our region.
Right. We do have many photographs because we are all very photogenic. Let me see if Supervisor Solis would like to add on to this.
Yes, thank you so much for raising that, Nancy, because I did want to inform the group that this past December, we actually passed a motion on the board, Metro board, to ask for the support, that we provide the support to help fill that gap, the 136 million. Ooh. And I know we are going to be working with our staff, with ACE, with the San Gabriel Valley COG, to see how we can actually get this going. So we do have some follow-up to do with our Metro staff, and they are aware, and we are on it. And we can share copies of the motion, or staff can, if you could. I think that would be helpful. Just
great. Yeah, no, it's critical to us that we can get those two projects actually going and keep that $100 million. So thank you very much. And I see there he is. Member Sandoval has a comment.
Oh, thank you, Chair Lyons. And I'm not sure this is the appropriate committee to raise this, but I think all of you are aware there is work being done on the 71 expressway from Rio Rancho to Mission, but there's a second phase of that project that will still result in a bottleneck at that key point from Mission to, in essence, the 1057 interchange. And I don't know whether that fits into this list, Alex, but I just want to at least raise it because I know it's such a critical project that has been on the books, as one might say, for a very long time. And it's there's some real environmental and health consequences as a result of the cars that idle. There have been some improvements that have been made where people are not actually entering the freeway from side streets, which is the real important step that was taken about 4 or 5 years ago. But I just wanted to raise that project as we begin to think about the projects in the San Gabriel Valley.
Thank you again, Director Sandoval. That is certainly a very critical project. And our staff do have it for the 2022 legislative priorities to specifically support that project. Overall, it will be included under the strategic goal of transportation and capital projects.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm on that at least once a month, and I definitely affirm what Member Sandoval says. Okay, anybody else have their hand up? I see no other hands. Okay, I don't know if we're going to need to have another round on this before we actually approve it. Do we have any other options that other than to ask to get it back again in February?
Chair Lyons, I just bring to your attention that I did include some suggested wording to address your issue in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see that. Thank you. Yes. So, but what do you think? Should we ask to have it back again in February, or Alex, is that going to cause a problem for you?
You know, staff can certainly bring it back in February if the committee would like. We are, our internal deadline is to kind of adopt the strategic plans by March so that our staff can work on the budgets for the next fiscal year accordingly. But we can essentially bring the drafts to strategic plan updates to both the governing board and the capital projects committee to review at the same time if you believe that would be helpful.
So you're talking about the capital projects meeting takes place after the COG meeting?
I believe based on next month's meeting schedule. Yeah, that would be correct. But regardless, it's just 4 days apart. And you know, we certainly would be happy to come back to the Capital Projects Committee to just give a specific opportunity for the committee to provide updates if you believe that would be more appropriate.
I think it might be a little bit cleaner if you're open to doing that rather than us keep trying to, you know, make wordsmith suggestions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're happy to do to come back if you like. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and plan on doing that then. And I'm sorry that that has to happen, but I think it probably should happen. So in this case, then we are not going to have a motion, or are we going to have a motion to ask for it to come back again, or what?
Chair Lyons, this is David DeBerry. I would suggest that a motion be made along those lines.
Okay, Mr. DeBerry, do we need to specify what changes we want, or just that we'd like it to come back again?
I think just that you would like it to come back again. I think staff has the information it needs to make the changes.
Okay, very good. Could I have a motion that we get to see this again?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Solis.
Thank you very much. That was the first by Solis and a second by
Hepburn.
Hepburn. Thank you very much. Okay, could we have roll call, please?
Please.
Okay, Chair Lyons,
Yes.
Vice Chair Moss,
Yes.
President Shevlin. Absent. Supervisor Solis,
Yes.
Member Hepburn,
Yes.
Member Jacobowski,
Yes.
Member Mahmood,
Yes.
Member Morales,
Yes.
Member Peralta, absent. Member Sandoval,
Yes.
okay.
Right, very good. Let's go on to the update items then. I think we have a quarterly project report. Eric?
Thank you, Chair Lyons and the member of the committee. Including in your agenda package, we provided detailed spreadsheet on 7 projects. In the interest of time during my presentation, I'm going to focus on 4 projects that have significant progress made in the last 3 months. We are definitely available to answer any additional questions you may have. But again, I will focus on 3 active construction projects plus 1 project that is getting closer to construction. So Charlotte, please proceed. The very first project that we're very pleased to report in terms of the progress is the Durfee Avenue grade separation project in the city of Pico Rivera. The project is proceeding very well according to schedule. We anticipate the road could be open in June of 2022. In fact, if weather cooperates, if everything else goes according to plan, we anticipate to have a opening ceremony sooner than June 2022. The final closeout is anticipated shortly after, but for conservative estimate, we estimate for December 2022 to close out this entire project. With respect to the expenditures, when we reported to the committee during the first quarter, the project expanded roughly at 74%. In second quarter, the project proceeded with 3% additional in terms of expenditure. And the one thing I would like to clarify is that the expenditure largely coincide with the work proceeded, but it also is influenced by how contractors had spread out their expenses based on the items, based on the work that they proceed. We are confident that this project will come not only on time, but also within budget. So we'll continue to monitor this project. Once again, we will soon start working on the ceremony for opening the project. And so it is one very exciting event for all of us to look forward to. Next project is Fairway Drive grade separation project in the city of Industry. The estimated overall cost is $240.8 million. The project is proceeding very well. And even though we have some weather events in the last couple of weeks, the contractors and also our construction manager out in the field, they're working diligently to ensure that to minimize any schedule slippage. We anticipate to open the road in December of 2022, and with a final closeout a couple months after the road open. And so what we anticipate is in April of 2023, we will close out this project. In first quarter, we reported to the committee that the project had expanded at around 84%. During second quarter, actually it should be Q2, the project has gone, the current expenditure is at 93%. And one thing I would like to mention is the staffing change that is on the way. That our senior project manager, Charles Tan, who will provide the monthly construction update in a few minutes. I want to acknowledge his contribution of leading this project in the last couple of years. And I also want to acknowledge that we have appointed Gary Cardamone as the interim senior project manager to carry this project to completion. So this is one project that we will anticipate the staffing change, but we also anticipate the project will, under the Gary's oversight, that will come in at the estimate and within the project schedule that we have just reported. Next is the Fullerton project. And again, the committee has really given given staff a lot of support in the last 2 to 3 quarters, and allowing us to finally issue the contract in a very difficult situation. And under the leadership, the management of our senior project manager, Andres Ramirez, in fact, the project overall project cost has been reduced a little bit. I wouldn't say, I would say every penny matters. So when we reported to the committee 1 quarter prior, the cost was at $241 million. The current cost estimate is at $239.5 million. The work has begun, and which Andres will provide you with some very exciting photos illustrating the work that has been embarked by our contractor. The current work, the anticipated project completion that I'll project to the final closeout is May 2025. Please proceed to the next one. Next project is the one that many of you may have seen as you traverse through State Route 57 or 60. Lots of activities are happening. Renee Coronel will be providing pictorials illustrating the work that is being done. Between the last 2 quarters, the cost started to incur. That is a good sign. That means contractors start working. They start mobilizing their resources and reaching milestones, and in turn, they start billing us. This project is completely Metro funded, so we work collaboratively with our Metro counterparts, as well as our Caltrans and also City of Diamond Bar. So this work is proceeding well. We look forward to having opportunities, especially field visit for the committee members in the very near future. Next, please. Oh, actually, that is my last report. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, this item is for receive and file.
Very good. I see a hand up from Mahmood. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Eric, on the airway project, 93% of the budget expended, yet substantial completion not anticipated until December. It doesn't seem possible that we can complete construction within budget. Could you please comment?
Sure. I'm going to ask my project manager, Charles, to help out. When I examine the delta between what is the estimated project cost versus where we are, that's about $16 million remaining. And what we're looking at right now is about 12 months before the project completion. So looking at $1 million per month of burn rate, it is not unreasonable. But I'm going to ask Charles, if Charles, you can help us on this particular question.
Sure, Eric. Thank you for your question, Member Mahmood. Just to clarify, in the month of November and December, our contractor, even with the weather impacts, the contractors are very focusing on doing a lot of retaining wall foundation work, as well as the ground stabilization, which those are very costly ticket items. So our monthly invoices for those months are actually over 2 million. So that's why when we do the year-end accounting for calendar 2021, we factor those dollar figure in. And echo with what Eric just mentioned, the project, based on our progress right now, substantial completion and open up to traffic will be sooner than December 22. So we are looking at maybe October. Now, the last couple of months, the last, say 2 months towards the end of the project, contractors billing typically will drop down to $500,000 to like $1/3 of a million. So if we could maintain the burn rate 1 to 1.75 million for the first 6 months, I'm pretty confident that we should be able to finish the project within the established budget.
What is the nature of the work remaining before substantial completion? And then secondly, until final project closeout?
The remaining projects, right, the remaining tasks, I should say, is the north retaining wall, which I think we are close to 40 to 45% complete. And then the roadway retaining wall, which is like 2 short wall on the north side. And then the roadway item on the north side. And in a project in this type of nature, majority of the expenditure is actually on the roadway excavation, the earthwork part. So the traffic signal, landscape, those are, we call it small ticket items. Underground infrastructures, those are big ticket items, which is like all behind our back. So the retaining wall remaining, compared with the south side retaining wall along the east and west side of Fairway, those are shorter walls by nature, by design. So even though it seems like, yeah, the project, if you go out to the site, there's still a lot of like open pits, we call it. But like Eric mentioned, majority of the challenging project areas are behind our back already. So right now it's pretty straightforward. The remaining retaining wall, flat work, roadway work, and all the track work is, I would say 95% done. The only track work remaining is one little spur, but that cannot be constructed until the north retaining wall is close to completion. So those are the, I would say, the outstanding, relatively big items that we need to deal with. But like Eric mentioned earlier as well, if the weather works with us, contractor pretty much can work even faster.
So Charles, if I could wrap up and also provide some assurance to Member Mahmood, the heavy item, costlier items have been built. So that based on the remainder of that's where we brought in another very seasoned professional to closely monitor, working with our construction manager, WSP, to contain the cost so that there are no surprises. Again, while I share your concern in terms of percentage and wanted to make sure that we don't go over budget, I also place a great degree of trust in our team, where this is the expenditure plan that they have built out. And they are burning based on what they have planned. And then as long as we monitor, manage, and contain it, we will get there within the cap. So that's where I want to reassure you, that's where we come back to you every 3 months to ensure that there are no surprises.
Very good. My only request then would be, if or when you receive any information that does lead you to question whether or not we can stay within the allotted budget, if you could please let the committee know rather than wait until the quarterly report. I think that would be helpful.
Certainly, certainly. Thank you very much for the comments.
All right, I see no other hands up. Does anybody else have any questions on this? No. I will ask if on Fairway Drive, if it might be time for a site visit, since, you know, we are close and we love site visits. We'd like to see it. So perhaps we can take a look at that before the weather gets too hot.
We will definitely take into consideration. We'll work. I will ask Charlotte to work with you on your schedule and work with our new project manager. And again, we love to showcase our progress, to give you the assurance that big, important work is being done under your leadership. So we'll come back to you with some suggested date and time.
Very good. I think the committee would enjoy that. And then if we could go on to item 8.
The next item is on the quarterly mitigation monitor report. Staff has provided you with our our regular monitoring and as well as the tracking on the activities. In the interest of time, I will be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Otherwise, this item is for receive and the file.
Are there any questions? Diana, you still have your hand up. I'm thinking you just didn't lower it. Is that right?
I'm done. Sorry.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, let's go ahead then to the monthly report from you.
Thank you, Chair Lyons. I would like to mention, in addition to the written director's monthly report, I would like to just emphasize that the governing board last week approved 3 funding agreements with the Los Angeles County Flood Control District and for receiving over $7 million of grants for advancing the Rio Hondo load reduction strategic project at 3 different sites within our sub-region. It is very, very exciting because it is a very significant contribution from the flood control district, and also that will help reduce participating cities their local match. So there are 11 participating cities in this project. The construction along our Hamburg Wash could start as early as 2023. And the construction along Eaton Wash and Rubio Wash will start after we receive additional approvals and also permits from state and federal agency. So I want to highlight that project because it is not a transportation project. We deal with the movement of water, which often we only appreciate the importance of our channel when heavy rain falls on us. So again, I also want to acknowledge 11 cities, jurisdictions that contribute to the entire project. And I want to thank you and thank your staff. Next, Paul Hubler, Director of Government and Community Relations, will provide a brief update on our funding situation specifically for our ACE projects. Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. And this goes to an item that's already been discussed by a number of the board members previously here during the meeting, and that is the funding for Montebello, Turnbull, and then the Pomona at-grade crossing safety improvements. We do want to thank, first of all, Supervisor Solis and Mayor Sandoval for moving forward with a motion last December in front of the LA Metro Board of Directors, directing staff to assist COG staff in identifying possible means of filling the construction phase funding shortfalls for the 2 grade separations, and then again, the Pomona at-grade crossing improvements. Since then, we've had 2 meetings with Metro staff, one in December and one this month, to discuss possible means of moving forward. I think it's looking positive. For the Montebello project, we do need to get to the CTC at their August meeting for a vote on allocation of the state funds that are already programmed for that project. And it's significant amount of state funding already programmed, 49 million in SB1 funds, plus another 19 million in Prop 1B funds, and 15 million in what are called Section 190 funds. So we've got to get there by August of this year. We've already requested extensions previously. We've been extended, so this really is our last opportunity to come forward. Again, I'm happy to report that working with LA Metro staff, I think we've identified a source of funding that could be used, and those are local Measure M funds, which would have to be advanced from future years, brought forward for that project. And we've provided them with a funding strategy, identifying the fiscal years in which we need the money for Montebello. They're now discussing that internally and options for moving forward with some form of a borrowing. Turnbull Canyon, that one, we've worked with Caltrans staff. We had a meeting with Caltrans executive management staff last week to talk about Turnbull and Montebello. For Turnbull, we are eligible to ask for an extension of time to come in for the allocation vote. In staff's assessment, we're going to have to do that. We're going to ask for an extension till next summer 2023, for an allocation vote for Turnbull. That'll give us additional time both to complete the right-of-way acquisition, which has been somewhat delayed due to the pandemic, and then also to secure possible local funds, again, and probably Measure M funds, and or apply for a state transit and intercity rail capital program funds. The governor, some of you may recall, last year proposed $500 million for grade separations through this existing program that's administered by the administration. And unfortunately, that deal fell apart due to a dispute between the legislature and the governor over high-speed rail funding. But he's proposed that again in this year's budget. So that could then be made available. And we won't know until May when the legislature has to adopt the budget for this year. And then on the Pomona at grade, again, we think that those projects could be funded out of the Measure M. Again, that would have to be funding that would be advanced by LA Metro. And we could also apply, and we have a draft agreement or application that will go to LA Metro, whereby they would provide us with the technical support to submit grant applications for the active transportation grant program administered by the state. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer questions if there are any.
Does anybody have any questions for Paul? Oh, I see Member Mahmood has her hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Paul, you didn't mention the potential for the availability of federal funding under the infrastructure bill. Are there any regulations of what's happening?
Yeah, so it's not possible for Montebello, given the short time frame. We have to have it into construction and fully funded by August. I simply don't see the ability to secure the remaining funds for Montebello in that time frame, given a couple of factors. One is the grade separation program, for instance, which is proposed to be funded at $3 billion over 5 years. They need to stand that program up. They haven't developed guidelines, so it'll take them months to develop guidelines, and then you submit applications. So that's one hurdle for Montebello. The second hurdle for Montebello is that we don't have a NEPA clearance for that project. It hasn't been required. We've tried to ask Caltrans to give us an advanced NEPA clearance. They declined. And so if we were to apply for funds, we would need to secure a NEPA clearance if we were awarded. That would delay the project by 12 months. We've been informed by our consultants. Turnbull Canyon is a different story. That's the one where we intend to ask for a 12-month extension till next summer. Turnbull also has a NEPA clearance because that project affects an Army Corps of Engineer storm channel. And so we needed NEPA clearance. We have that. That's a possible avenue where we could submit Turnbull for federal grant application. I would caution, though, based on our past years of experience of submitting our grade separations for federal grant applications, it's very difficult for a grade separation to qualify above a one, where the benefits outweigh the costs. So above a 1 and a BCA ratio, because they tend to be very costly, and the benefits typically tend to be reductions in collisions. So reduced deaths and injuries, which are not, unfortunately, valued that highly. The other benefits are congestion reduction, vehicular congestion reduction at the crossing, and emissions reductions. But again, we've had a real challenge getting above a 1 on our benefit cost analysis when we apply for these federal grant programs. So, and that's with us being very creative and frankly working out an agreement with USDOT where we could count as a benefit the improvement in property values to residential and commercial properties that surround the grade separation based on the reduction in noise and traffic congestion. So we've been as creative as we can, but it's very difficult the federal grant programs, even though there's so much funding flowing through, can be very challenging to apply for.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have a question of Paul? Seeing none, I did forget to ask if we received public comments on this item. Did we, Eric?
Well, Chair Lyons, no, we did not receive any public comments on this item before the meeting.
Thank you.
And before I wrap up my staff report, I also want to acknowledge, I failed to mention that our quarterly environmental mitigation monitor report, each quarter is compiled by Ricky Choi. I know you will have an acknowledgement later, but I also want to thank him every quarter for compiling the report. And then we will transition to a new staffer starting from this point on. So thank you very much, Ricky. You're on the screen now. With that, that concludes concludes my report on the monthly activities. And excuse me, my light just went off.
Oh dear. So then we're ready to move on to the active construction projects. Have we received any public comments on those?
Chair Lyons, we did not receive any comments before the meeting. And if you're ready, we're ready to showcase some very exciting pictorials about all the field conditions by our project managers. So I'm going to start with, start with Durfee Project by project manager, Renee Coronel. Renee?
Hello. So construction for the Durfee project continues. In this picture, it's a pretty interesting photo. We are setting a precast concrete, a fascia girder. So that's a big crane. That's a 500-ton crane. So that last component completes the superstructure of the bridge. After that, we just have to backfill and do the lettering for the city of Pico Rivera. Next slide. In this photo, we are pouring concrete for the retaining wall, stem wall. So once we pour the concrete, we're going to wait a day or two and then strip the forms. And that's what you typically see on the grade separation, those long vertical walls. Next slide. On this picture, we completed placing hot mix asphalt, HMA, for New Street. And that's where that building right there, we're continuing to work inside. It's hard to tell from this photo, but it's a pump station. And that goes 3 stories deep. So we are putting the last finishing touches on the roadway sections. And the last slide. We're working on both sides of the street. In this photo, we are placing rebar and the forms for the retaining wall footing. And once we place the concrete, we're going to start building the stem wall, which we did on the other side. And that concludes the presentation for Durfee.
I believe next one is the Diamond Bar Golf Course. Okay.
So for the Diamond Bar Golf Course project, we are also continuing construction. In this photo, we are doing biological surveys, so we have to make sure there's nothing in the trees before we remove them. And it takes a lot of visuals to confirm. Next slide. We're also, if you've driven there, you've noticed there's a lot going on. We have been removing a lot of trees, a lot of dirt, a lot of grass, and we're hauling a lot. Next slide. Yes, just loading, dumping green waste, taking it out, hauling it, and we're working with the city to make sure we're following the shortest haul routes, and it's pretty convenient because the freeway's right there, so we're not impacting the local residents. Next slide. Oh, and that concludes. I can take any questions.
Next, Charles, Fairway Project.
Charlotte, can you advance to the next one? There you go. You are looking west, standing on the north side of the UP right-of-way. Contractors, they are doing the fine grading, and that's in the preparation for retaining wall number 9, which is like the middle portion of the project. Next, please. And you are on the left picture, you are looking east, also standing on the north side. You see the contractors, they are putting in the rebar cage. That's for the retaining wall foundation for the north retaining wall. So we are bringing in a lot of rebar to the job site since late November and the month of December. And this process will continue on for the next 2 months at least. And The picture on the right-hand side, you are looking east also. This is retaining wall 10. So they are building these retaining wall foundations, rebar cage on site. Next, please. And like I mentioned in the previous reports, contractors using kind of like a production line type strategies. So when you see the one end, they are doing grading, the other part, they are doing rebar cage, and then in some other area, they are pouring concrete foundation. So this is the area pretty close to the grade separation bridge area. So they are pouring foundation on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side pictures, they are pouring the foundation as well. So you can see they are moving, there are different crews in different area and working one following the others. Next, please. And the picture on the left, this is the far close to the east end of the project limit. So the wall stem has been built, and you can see the contractor actually they are stripping the forms. And then on the other end, they are putting when they strip the forms from one side, then they're putting the forms on the other right away using the same crane. So that's how they can efficiently construct the wall stems. So when you go out there, pretty much the majority of retaining wall 10's wall stem has been poured, just waiting for it to strip the forms. Next, please. Now this is another area that they put up the form, and then they are ready to pour the wall stem. I think this is like the last slide that we have, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if there's any. And Chair Lyon, if you want to come and visit the site, I think towards the end or late February will be a good time, because the majority of 10 will be poured and contractor will be cleaning up. And then you still see some activity on wall 8 and wall 9 going on.
Well, thank you very much, but where will you be?
I'll be moving on to phase 3 of my progressive retirement.
I'm just trying to point out that we will miss you at that site. But before we get into that, does anybody have any questions? Any members have any questions on this?
Chair Lyons, we have one more project update.
Well, let's do that one.
So we're saving the last for the best. Andres, please proceed.
So good afternoon, members of the committee. I'll give the update for the Fullerton Road grade separation construction project. And there has been a lot of progress made in the last month. If you go to the next slide. So as you can see, kind of giving you an aerial of the project site, we have activity pretty much throughout the entire site. So if you go, we'll go from the top right down toward the bottom left there. So if you go to the next slide. So up in the areas that are shaded in orange there, we are using the area on the right as our stockpile area, and we're breaking down all the removed items. Over in front of the Lee and Rowe property, which is on the left orange side there, we went onto the property and we potholed for all the utilities in preparation for the demolition work that's going to go on there. If you go to the next slide. Just south of that on Railroad Street, which is the yellow area there, we installed a 30-inch air line. And so we had started that last month, but we completed it this month. Next slide. On the railroad right-of-way, we continue to do a lot of locating and testing. So we located all of the MCI handholds. These are fiber optic lines that were relocated under the previous contractor, but we had to go in and locate where their actual the boxes were located so that it didn't interfere with our construction. And we also did our soil sampling along the entire portion of the UPR right of way for any contaminated soils. And so the processing of that information probably take about a month to get those results back, but that work has been conducted. If you go to the next slide. So a lot of the heavy work that's gone on is on Gale Avenue. That has been our focus because we want to reopen Gale as soon as we possibly can. So you're standing here on the lower part of Gale, pretty much at the intersection of Fullerton and Gale. You're looking east on Gale, and you'll see the office building that we're using. You can see the difference in the grade of all the soil that's been taken out. So that's what we've basically been working on, is lowering, doing roadway excavation to lower the road to grade. And then just on the right-hand picture, just outside of our gate, we also removed the road, the portion of the road on Gale in front of the Lindsay Toys, the property adjacent to the site, in preparation for relocating the curb and gutter and then reinstalling the road there. So if you go to the next slide. So here, this is right smack dab in the middle of the intersection of Fullerton and Gale. The top left picture, you're actually standing up on the higher part and you're looking south along Fullerton. What you'll see there is a lot of roadway excavation work that has been taken away. A lot of the soil has been removed. And we also are already have Roland Water District in there installing their water line. On the right, you'll see this is pretty much the same area, but you're down in the pit, if you will, with the roadway excavation. And the bottom picture there, it kind of gives you a perspective of all of the activity that's going on just in this one area. You see in the background, you see the shoring. So the top of that that shoring wall is where the road is. So behind that white K-rail that you see there is actually the elevation of the road of Gale that is currently in operation right now. Next slide, please. So this is just the western part of the same roadway excavation that you see. And we also poured a slough wall at the end of retaining wall 2. We put in we formed and installed the retaining wall that holds up for the ADA sidewalk that's going to go behind that wall. Next slide. So this area here is across the street of Gale. It's on the south west portion of the intersection. What we did there is we installed the temporary shoring. You'll see in this bottom right picture on the left, you'll see the temporary shoring wall. And then we also installed on the right, we installed the temporary shoring wall in order to start our roadway excavation. And so you see how much of the road we've already taken out, again, in preparation for the utilities to come in, and then we'll put the road work back, the new road in. I believe that's all of my photos. So I will be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
You know, I'll bet you that member Corey Moss has a big smile on her face that there's a lot of activity here, because I know this has been a big concern for Mayor Moss and her city.
I definitely do. Unfortunately, I had to move from my computer to my phone because I've had been moving around trying to do some things. So that's why I'm off camera, but absolutely very, very excited to see this much progress. And thank you for pointing that out, Chair.
Yes, well, I know when we were there, I think it was 6 to 8 months ago on that sweltering day, you know, there wasn't a whole lot going on. And now it just seems like there's a whole lot going on. So the committee's very happy about that. And those of us that live adjacent to it and want to support those businesses are very happy about that as well.
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful to staff and everybody else, and that is quite a relief. So thank you for that.
Yes, I hope you guys heard that comment. She said she's very grateful to staff and everyone else. Okay, good. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Member Mahmood?
I have a quick question for Renee. Going back to the clearing and grubbing that's occurring at the golf course and near the golf course, have we been able to relocate any trees?
Trees are proposed as part of the final configuration. So we have to make room enough for the new on and off ramp for the freeway. Once we're done with the project, we're going to put up new trees.
Okay, thank you.
Member Mahmood, just as somebody that lives in Diamond Bar, the trees that were there, there were a lot of very scraggly, thin, like eucalyptus trees that you probably wouldn't plant today because of, the fact they're so flammable and they blow over and whatnot. So we're kind of looking forward to new, better trees.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have a comment or concern on this one? Okay, so let's close.
Chair Lyons,
Yes.
before I conclude our item, I just want to formally introduce Gary Cardamone. Gary is the interim senior project manager. He is coming on board. He has come on board 2+ weeks ago, and he's now in transition with Charles. He will be our point of contact. He will be monitoring, managing the Fairway project to completion for us. So I do want to acknowledge Gary. I see he turned the camera on. If you don't mind, may I ask Gary to give a quick self-intro?
Absolutely. This is important to us. Let's see Gary.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Chair Lyons and members of the committee. I'm certainly happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to contribute to the team. And I've had the pleasure of working with Eric in the past down at the Port of Long Beach. So he knows a little bit about my background, and I know this has been a challenging project, and I have big shoes to fill. I know Charles has been dealing with some real challenges on this project. I certainly take to heart the comments about budget. Eric has made that very clear to me. So I'll be keeping a very close eye on the budget, and I look forward to a successful completion and closeout of Fairway. So thank you.
Gary. That concludes our remark, Chair Lyons.
Thank you very much, and welcome, Gary Cardamone. We're very happy to have you, and I'm sure we'll be meeting you in person. So that's excellent.
Look forward to that.
And I should also say that President Becky Shevlin did arrive a while ago at our meeting. So she is here. She's not on camera.
I do apologize for my tardiness. I have been under the weather, not COVID, have actually, I think, a mild flu, but have tested negative for COVID. But oh my goodness, I thought I had my schedule in line this morning, and I just kind of blew a couple of hours. Don't know where those went, and all of a sudden I realized what time it was, and I truly apologize. I'm working, or I shouldn't say working from home. I'm pretty much snoozing. So I will talk to you later, and again, my apologies.
Okay, apologies accepted. Thank you so much. All right, so I think that we're at the time for announcements and member comments. If any member has an announcement or comment, put your hand up and I'll make sure I call on you. Okay, I see one from Supervisor Solis. By the way, welcome back. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. And I want to just say that with redistricting, I think I inherited many of the projects now that are going to be before this board, which is kind of, exciting. And I know that we're going to continue to work together, and certainly on Metro Board, we're going to see to it that we provide the support that's needed. So thank you all, and look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, does anybody else have a comment or an announcement? Okay, seeing no other hands up, I would just like to recognize our two staff that are either have left us or are leaving us. I'd like to recognize our Senior Project Manager, Charles Tang, and our Community Relations Manager, Ricky Choi. They've been dedicated members of the ACE projects for years. Charles joined the agency in July of 2008, and he managed the Nogales Street grade separation to completion in 2016. And as you know, he's currently managing the Fairway grade separation. And he's also managing the Pomona at-grade safety improvement project and the Turnbull Canyon grade separation. He's got 3. So Charles, you will be missed very much. we wish you best in your next phase of partial retirement. And Ricky supervised community relations for the Alameda Corridor East project for 13 years. And most recently, he's been working on the San Gabriel Valley Transit Study and also the 5760 project. We really appreciate the contributions of both of these men to the ACE projects and our other significant capital projects that we've had in the last couple of years. We're really going to miss their professionalism and their teamwork and the way they explain things too, because it's easy to understand. Speaking of explaining things, I want to express my appreciation for Renee and the great job that he did at the COG meeting last week. That was a very dicey getting all those resolutions of necessity through and explaining them and having pictures. And Renee, I just think you did a super job, and President Shevlin definitely to push all that through in that short of a time. It was excellent. And of course we needed it. So thank you. And I also would like to welcome Gary Cardamon, our interim senior project manager, to our agency. And he's going to manage the Fairway Drive separation project to completion. And we very much appreciate that. And we look forward to that happening. And we look forward to visiting the job site. And then our next meeting is going to take place on Monday, February 28th at noon. That's our next regular meeting. And again, we expect that this will be via teleconferencing and hope that in March we can do a hybrid meeting. Until we meet again, have a safe and productive meeting, and best wishes to our two people that are leaving us. Adjourned.
Thank you all.